A medicine cabinet killed me in my first life. In my second, a wound opened one yellow eye and winked at me while 300 future healers waited for me to close it. The eye sat in the palm of a stable boy named Peller. It was small, wet, and very interested in me. Dark veins crawled from the cut toward his wrist. I lifted my hand instead of casting healing light. Examiner Kelvor struck his silver cane against the floor. The sound crossed the academy hall like a slap. "Begin, Elian." I had 30 breaths to close a cut no longer than my smallest finger. Every other student had done it in less than 10. Tavern, the best student in our year, had used 3 breaths and made the judges clap. I touched Peller's wrist. His skin was cold. His pulse came in pairs, then stopped for a beat. The wound smelled sweet. That smell had followed me through 2 lives. It was the smell of blood losing a war. "The blade was poisoned," I said. Kelvor smiled without warmth. "The test blade was blessed this morning. Then someone blessed it with poison." Laughter rolled through the hall. It grew louder when Tavern covered his mouth and failed to hide a grin. 3 crystal lenses floated above us, carrying my examination to the public boards outside. Even the people in the square could watch me fail. Kelvor pointed his cane at Peller's hand. "Close the wound. If I close it, the poison stays inside. A healer heals. A coward explains." That line pleased the crowd. It was short enough to remember and stupid enough to repeat. Peller looked at me. He was 14, thin as an empty coat rack, and trying not to shake. He worked in the royal stables because the academy paid test patients 4 silver coins. 4 silver was also what Kelvor had charged me to take the exam. I could not remove the poison with ordinary light. My magic had never obeyed me. At best, I could make my fingertips glow like a tired candle. I still refused to trap the poison in a child. The 30 breaths ended. Kelvor turned toward the crystal lenses. "Candidate Elian has failed the basic healing test. His output is below 1 unit. His control is 0. His courage is also open to debate." The hall erupted. Someone called me Candle Fingers. Someone else offered to hire me for birthday cakes. Tavern's friends repeated the joke until it became less funny than a wet shoe, but that did not stop them. Kelvor pressed his seal against my record. Rank F class assignment restricted to non-essential labor. Academy stipend revoked. Dormitory access ends at sunset. My name dropped to the bottom of the public board. 312 candidates stood above it. A red mark appeared beside my score so large it looked like the board had been stabbed. Severa did not laugh. She stood among the scholarship students in a plain gray cloak. Her black hair was tied with a strip of blue cloth. I had seen her in lectures, always near the back, always asking questions that made teachers suddenly remember urgent appointments elsewhere. She watched Pelor's darkening veins. "Not my score." "His lips are turning blue," she said. Kelvor did not look at the boy. Fear causes discoloration. Peller fell from the chair. The back of his head struck the platform. His arm jerked twice. Foam appeared between his teeth. For 1 perfect second, the hall became silent. Then, every trained healer moved away from him. Kelvor raised a golden barrier around the platform. "The candidate has contaminated the patient. Guards, seize Elian." The lie was fast. I respected the speed. 2 guards climbed the steps. Tavern stared at Peller, and his smile vanished. He knew the test blade had come from Kelvor's locked cabinet. He also knew that speaking would put his first-place scholarship at risk. He chose the scholarship. I chose the window. I kicked the stool into the first guard's knees, caught Peller under the arms, and pulled him through the open side door. Severa threw her cloak over a crystal lens. The square saw gray cloth instead of my escape. "Laundry room," she said. "Left corridor." I did not ask why she helped. Questions were useful after breathing became stable. We locked ourselves inside a room full of steaming sheets. Peller's pulse had fallen to 30 beats a minute. Black lines reached his elbow. I had no antidote, no license, and 3 silver coins in my pocket. I also had a class selection stone Kelvor had thrown at me before the test ended. The stone warmed in my hand. A calm voice spoke inside my head. It did not arrive with a glowing window or a choir. It sounded like an accountant who had already seen my funeral bill. It told me that 3 paths were available. Herb Carrier would improve the weight I could lift by 10%. Corpse Cleaner would protect me from bad smells. The final path was Inner Healer, a class with no external healing spell and a survival rate of 0. The voice advised caution. I looked at Peller. The wound looked back. "I choose Inner Healer." The stone cracked. Cold rushed through my bones. For 1 breath I heard every beat of Peller's heart as if someone were striking a drum beside my ear. The voice said, my life reserve was 12 points. Entering a patient would cost 5. Damage suffered inside would return to my real body at 1/3 strength. Killing the cause of the illness would cure the patient and grant resistance to the defeated disease. One ability, one broken rule. Every healer in the kingdom pushed magic into a body from the outside. I could step through the skin and meet the problem where it lived. Severa gripped my sleeve. What did you choose? The class with a survival rate of 0. That is a terrible answer. It was also the best one. I placed my palm over Peller's wound and named what I had observed. Sweet odor, paired pulse, blue lips, fast-moving black veins, alchemical night venom. The diagnosis locked into place. The laundry room vanished. I landed knee-deep in black water. Above me, red clouds moved with the rhythm of a heartbeat. Pillars of muscle rose from the swamp. Pale roots hung from them like vines. The place was hot, loud, and smelled like burned sugar. A narrow stone path ran toward a distant yellow tower. Something the size of a dog crawled across it. It was a rat made of tar. 6 glass teeth filled its mouth. The yellow eye from Peller's wound sat in the middle of its forehead. The voice called it a venom feeder. Its strength was 8. Mine was 9. That was not a comfortable advantage. It was the kind of advantage a chicken had over a slightly smaller chicken. A silver scalpel appeared in my hand. It was the class tool, not a gift. Its edge could cut disease inside a patient and nothing else. In the real world, it would struggle against soft cheese. The rat charged. I stepped off the path. Its claws struck stone. I cut the cord behind its front leg and black fluid sprayed across my chest. Fire moved through my ribs. My real body would receive 1/3 of that pain. I hope Severa enjoyed explaining mysterious burns to guards. The rat spun and bit my forearm. 6 teeth went in. I drove the scalpel through its yellow eye. The creature burst. My strength rose from 9 to 10. My remaining life reserve fell from 7 to 6. The voice warned me that this was only a feeder. The tower ahead opened like a flower. Hundreds of yellow eyes looked down at me. The final boss climbed from the swamp on 8 thin legs. Its body was a swollen poison gland wrapped in chains. Each chain ran toward one of the muscle pillars. The venom was already attaching itself to Peller's organs. The boss had a strength of 14. I had a small knife, 1 burned chest, 1 bleeding arm, and a strong desire to complain to whoever designed medical education in this world. The boss spat a stream of black fluid. I dived behind a pillar. The venom struck the hanging roots. They shriveled at once. That gave me the answer. The boss was stronger because it had tied itself to Peller's body. Cutting the gland would release all its poison. Cutting the chains would starve it. I ran around the pillar. The first chain pulsed beneath my feet. 3 cuts severed it. The boss screamed, and the swamp dropped by the height of my hand. It lunged. 1 leg punched through my side. Pain turned the world white. In the laundry room, I heard Severa shout my name. That meant the wound had appeared outside. Good. I was not dead yet. I grabbed the leg instead of pulling away. The boss tried to lift me. I let it. From the higher position, I landed on its back. I cut the 2nd chain, then the 3rd. The boss smashed itself against a pillar to crush me. My shoulder broke inside. Somewhere far away, my real shoulder cracked but held. The voice said my life reserve was 2. The boss still had 5 chains. I stopped trying to outrun it. I stabbed its largest yellow eye and left the scalpel there. The creature reared back. It used 4 legs to tear at the blade. I slid underneath its body and pulled the remaining chains together. The chains crossed like tight ropes. 1 cut passed through all 5. The boss collapsed. Its swollen body shrank to the size of an apple. I retrieved the scalpel and pierced the empty gland. Black rain fell upward. The swamp cleared. The red clouds became pink, then gold. The voice confirmed complete eradication of night venom. My life reserve increased from 12 to 18. My strength rose from 9 to 13. My resistance to night venom became 15%. A venom pearl worth at least 40 silver coins formed in my hand. Then Peller's heartbeat threw me out. I woke on the laundry floor with Severa kneeling over me. Blood covered the side of my shirt. My shoulder felt as if an angry wardrobe had landed on it. I had experience with murderous furniture, so the comparison was accurate. Peller sat beside a basket of sheets. The black veins were gone. He stared at his clean palm. Even the original cut had closed. The cracked class stone still hung from my neck. It flashed once and projected 2 words above me, Inner Healer. The students in the corridor recognized the abandoned class record. New laughter began. An inner healer had no light spell, no blessing, and no recorded survivor. Tavrin called it a class for someone who wanted to die closer to the problem. Then Pelor raised his healed hand and the laughter stopped in the middle of one breath. "You were dead," Severa whispered. "Only mostly. That is not a medical term." "It should be." The laundry door shook under a blow. Kelvor ordered us to open it. Guards gathered in the corridor. Behind them came students, servants, and 2 crystal lenses. News of a possible death had attracted more people than the exam. Severa unlocked the door before Kelvor could break it. He rushed inside with healing light around both hands. He saw Pelor standing and stopped so quickly that Tavrin walked into his back. The crystal lenses floated closer. Pelor raised his healed hand. Someone in the corridor gasped. Then everyone started speaking at once. Kelvor recovered first. The poison must have been weak. My earlier blessing delayed it until the boy's body recovered naturally. I held up the venom pearl. Every alchemical student knew its shape. A pearl formed only when concentrated night venom was purified without dilution. The nearest crystal lens enlarged it for the public square. Severa spoke clearly. Examiner Kelvor said the blade contained no poison. The corridor went quiet again. Pelor pointed at Kelvor. He gave me the cut. That silence did not last. The public board outside changed before Kelvor could reach it. Viewers sent written reactions through the crystal network. Candle fingers disappeared from the popular messages. Poison Lyre took its place. Kelvor tried to seize the pearl. I closed my hand. "It is evidence," he said. "It is worth 40 silver. You cannot sell evidence." "Then buy it." Laughter hit him from the corridor and the square at the same time. The academy dean arrived 10 minutes later. She suspended Kelvor pending an inquiry, returned my 4 silver examination fee, and offered me silence in exchange for 20 additional silver. I asked for 30, she paid 30. By sunset, I had 37 silver coins, 1 venom pearl, a class no one understood, and an official rank of F that the academy refused to change until another examination. My status on the city board was worse and better. I remained last among licensed healers. I was also the most searched name in the district. Pelor's mother fed us at her small stable kitchen. She served beef stew thick with onions, carrots, and dark gravy. Steam softened the crust of the bread beside my bowl. Butter melted into the cracks. After the swamp, the smell of pepper and roasted meat felt more magical than any healing light. Pelor ate 3 bowls. Severa ate slowly until she thought no one watched, then used her bread to collect every drop of gravy. I paid Pelor the 4 silver he had been promised for the exam. His mother cried. I pretended to be interested in the salt jar. When we left, rain tapped against the stable roof. Severa walked beside me beneath one borrowed umbrella. "You knew closing the wound would kill him," she said. "I knew it could." Everyone laughed. The poison did not care. She smiled for the first time. At the gate, her fingers brushed mine as she returned the umbrella. The inner healer sense opened without permission. For one instant, the street disappeared. I saw a ruined kingdom beneath Severa's skin. White roots wrapped around a black sun. Thousands of thin red roads stretched from her heart into the distance. The calm voice in my head spoke faster than before. It detected 1 divine parasite, 9 sealed regions, and 12,480 linked patients. Then something behind the black sun opened its eyes. "I found you," it said. The messenger brought 12 guards to arrest 1 wounded healer. That was flattering. It was also a poor use of public money. 1 hour earlier, 500 witnesses had watched hall physician Sovan close an infected cut on a baker named Malin and declare the patient cured. The infection kept growing under the bandage. I placed my last 30 silver on the floor, entered the wound, and killed the mold knight hiding behind 6 sealed channels. The cure raised my life reserve from 18 to 26, my strength from 13 to 17, and my wound infection resistance to 20%. 6 culture pearls returned with me. The hall paid 1 gold, granted me rank E, and watched my reputation rise from -40 to 620. Pelor then produced Kelvor's poison bottle before the same 500 witnesses. Tavrin admitted that he had smelled night venom on the test blade and stayed silent to protect his scholarship. His score fell from 2,100 to 800 while the city wall filled with requests for the healer the hall had tried to erase. An alchemist named Maris bought my 6 pearls for 1 gold and 50 silver. She had copper gloves, a green case, and the calm expression of a woman who had survived other people's bad ideas. We had just reached Mullen's bakery when Daskin's messenger accused me of poisoning the city. I had not even finished the tomato soup. People continued to fall around him. The nearest victim was a woman carrying a basket of apples. Her knees struck the street. Her fingers curled until the nails cut her palms. Green veins spread across her neck. I walked toward her. The guards lowered their spears. "One more step and we use force," the messenger said. "Then carry her yourself." He glanced at the black foam on the woman's lips and did not move. Severa reached her first. She rolled the woman onto her side so she would not choke. Peller dragged the apple basket away before someone slipped on it. Maris opened her green case and pressed a copper strip to the foam. The metal turned purple. "Riverbane," she said. "Concentrated, at least 40 doses in the fountain." The messenger pointed at the venom pearl pouch under my coat. "He produced illegal toxin yesterday. Search him." "Night venom is black," Maris said. "Riverbane is green. Both are poison." She looked at him with professional sadness. "Bread and boots are both brown. I hope you do not eat your shoes." The crowd laughed, but the sound broke when another man collapsed against the bakery window. I counted visible patients. 47. More could be inside the houses. The class sense gave me a partial diagnosis when I touched the woman's wrist. Alchemical riverbane. Entry cost would be 7 life points. Estimated boss strength was 27. My strength was 17. The system also detected a compatible alchemical guide within 2 steps. I looked at Maris. She looked back. "Why do you have the face of a man about to suggest something dangerous?" "Because the safe suggestions are not working." The new consequence was simple. My class could take one willing companion into a diagnosed patient. The companion would enter through my connection and return when I did. It would cost 4 additional life points. Any damage Maris suffered would mirror onto her at 1/3 strength. I explained it in 3 sentences. Maris closed her case. "Can I collect samples?" "Probably." "Then yes." Severa grabbed my arm. "You do not know what happens to a second person." That is why Maris asked about samples. She has sensible priorities. "I heard that," Maris said. The city gates slammed shut. White-robed healers formed barriers at both ends of the street. Instead of treating the fallen, they painted quarantine marks on doors. Regional Master Daskin arrived in a carriage plated with silver. He stepped down in a dark blue robe, followed by 6 hall officials and enough crystal lenses to cover a royal wedding. He was younger than I expected, perhaps 40. His face was clean-shaven. His gloves were spotless. His eyes moved from the green fountain to my pouch and settled there. "Elian," he said. "You appeared yesterday. Today my district suffers a mass poisoning. Explain the timing." "The poison entered the water before sunrise. I was asleep above a noodle shop." "A criminal can sleep after a crime. A healer can also sleep. We complain about it less." The street reacted with nervous laughter. Daskin's motive was clear. 47 poisoned citizens made him look weak. One suspicious F-rank made a useful lid for that pot. He offered a public bargain. I could demonstrate my method on one victim while chained. If she lived, his alchemists would examine the result. If she died, I would be charged with murder. "No chains," I said. "Maris enters with me. You keep the crystal lenses on the patient, and if I identify the source, you announce it without alteration. You do not set terms." Severa turned toward the largest lens. "Then the regional master refuses a possible cure while citizens die behind him." The public message board flashed so quickly that its surface became white. Daskin accepted. Maris sat beside me on the stones. I held the patient's wrist with one hand and Maris's copper glove with the other. My life reserve was 26. The joined entry cost 11. If I returned with less than 4, my heart could stop from the mirrored damage. I stated those numbers aloud so Maris could withdraw. She tightened the straps of her case. "I once drank furnace cleaner because an apprentice used the wrong bottle. Did it help?" It removed my fear of labels. We entered. We landed on a wooden platform above a green ocean. Rain fell in thick drops that hissed against the boards. Broken pipes rose from the water like the ribs of a drowned beast. Each pipe carried poison toward a red city in the distance. The city was the patient's liver. Maris stared at her hands. Her copper gloves had become heavy gauntlets covered in measuring needles. Her green case was now a cabinet strapped to her back. "This is wonderful," she whispered. A frog the size of a cart climbed onto the platform. "That is less wonderful." Its belly was transparent. Human-shaped shadows floated inside it. Its tongue split into 3 barbed cords. The voice identified a Riverbane collector with strength 18. Maris struck it with her case. The cabinet opened in mid-swing. 6 glass bottles flew out and burst against the frog's face. Blue flame covered its eyes. "You brought weapons?" I asked. "I brought chemistry." The frog's tongue wrapped around my waist and pulled. I cut the first cord with the scalpel. Maris clamped a copper needle onto the second. A gauge on her glove spun. "This toxin was made with blue salt," she shouted. "Only the regional Hall refinery uses blue salt. It leaves a silver residue." The third cord pierced her shoulder. I cut it before the frog could drag her into its mouth. Blood soaked her coat. Outside, a smaller wound would appear on her real shoulder. The frog leaped. The platform broke under its weight. We fell into the green ocean. My Riverbane resistance was 0. The poison burned my skin at once. My life reserve dropped from 15 to 13, then to 12. Maris caught a broken pipe. I caught her boot. The frog circled below us like a very ugly shark. "The pipes are feeding it," she said. "Blue salt pulls Riverbane toward metal. Can you reverse it? I need a clean sample." The collector was not clean. I climbed onto the pipe and waited for it to jump. Its mouth opened beneath me. I dropped the silver scalpel through its tongue and into the clear chamber behind its jaw. Maris pushed a bottle into the wound. The frog swallowed both of us. Inside its belly, the air was yellow and hot. The human shadows were not people. They were pieces of the patient's strength being digested by the poison. Maris filled 3 bottles while I cut a path through the stomach wall. The frog rolled through the water, trying to crush us against its own ribs. My life reserve fell to 9. She mixed the sample with silver residue from her glove. The liquid changed from green to clear. "Reverse salt," she said. "Pour it into the central pipe." I opened the frog from the inside. It exploded across the ocean in pieces that would have offended several schools of art. My strength rose from 17 to 19. Riverbane resistance reached 8%. The burning slowed. The central pipe stood 200 steps away. Green waves crashed between us and it. Smaller frogs crawled from the broken collector, each no larger than a cat and twice as rude. We ran across the pipe network. Maris threw bottles behind us. Ice spread over one pipe and froze 6 frogs in place. I cut a hanging valve. It fell like a hammer and launched another frog into the distance. "Do they all need hats?" I asked as 3 creatures wearing tiny refinery caps approached. "The poison came from workers' waste," Maris said. "The inner world copies memory. Then the patient thinks refinery workers are frogs. She may have met our night shift." We reached the central pipe. Something rose from beneath it. The true boss had 2 frog heads, a body armored in blue salt, and a refinery seal branded across its chest. Chains from all 47 poison streams passed through its back. Its strength was 27. Maris held up her bottle. "The residue proves where it came from." The boss swallowed the central pipe. That complicated the plan. One head spat acid. The other released a cloud of blue crystals. I pushed Maris behind a broken valve and took the cloud across my back. Hundreds of sharp grains entered my skin. My life reserve dropped to 6. The system advised immediate retreat. "Request noted," I said. Maris looked at me. "Who are you talking to?" "The voice that dislikes our plan." I agree with the voice. The chains on the boss connected not only to our patient, they pointed beyond her inner world. The common poison source had made a weak network among every victim. If we purified the central stream here, we could create an antidote pattern for all of them. That was another consequence, not another power. A shared cause created a shared road. I ran straight at the boss. Both heads opened their mouths. I threw the scalpel into the left one and my empty sheath into the right. The right head bit down on leather and looked offended. Maris climbed the valve wheel. I slid beneath the armored belly. The silver residue was thickest around the refinery brand. I cut around the mark instead of through the armor. The branded plate fell away. Inside it was a glass tank holding the central pipe. The boss stamped on my leg. Bone cracked. Outside, the mirrored fracture would become a deep bruise if I survived. I held the opening apart. Maris jumped from the wheel. She landed on the boss's back, drove her copper arm into the tank, and emptied the reverse salt. The green ocean turned clear in one expanding circle. Every chain burned white. The boss dropped from strength 27 to 16. My Riverbane resistance jumped from 8% to 20% as the purified water reached us. I pulled the scalpel from its left mouth and cut both throats with one arc. The 2 heads fell in opposite directions. The body burst into 47 green scales and 1 blue refinery seal. The voice confirmed complete eradication in the chosen patient and produced a transferable antidote pattern. My life reserve increased from 26 to 36. My strength rose from 17 to 22. Riverbane resistance became 30%. Maris collected the refinery seal before the world threw us out. We woke in the street. The poisoned woman drew one clean breath and sat up. The crowd shouted. Daskin's healers surrounded her. They tested her blood, breath, eyes, and mana. The Riverbane was gone. Maris opened her hand. The blue seal lay on her palm in the real world. One crystal lens moved close enough to reflect Daskin's face in it. Regional Refinery Batch 7, Maris said. The waste came from your hall. Daskin did not deny the seal. He ordered his refinery locked and claimed sabotage. That was possible. It was also no longer my problem to prove. The 47 scales had followed us into my pouch. Maris ground the first with fountain water. The liquid turned clear. One spoonful stopped the convulsions of the nearest victim. Every spectator saw it. For the next hour, we moved down the street. Maris mixed. Severa measured. Peller carried cups. I diagnosed every patient before they drank. 47 victims woke. Then 6 more were found inside a dye shop, bringing the total to 53. The final scale treated the final child after Maris divided the doses with less than a drop to spare. The crystal network showed the count rising one patient at a time. When it reached 53, the market began chanting my name. Daskin stood beside the poisoned fountain, while his own inspectors arrested the refinery manager. He had arrived to arrest me. He left after publicly awarding me a D-rank emergency license. His expression resembled a man chewing a lemon made of iron. The city paid 10 gold for the mass cure. The refinery paid another 4 gold for the evidence seal. Maris bought my 6 culture pearls for 1 gold and 50 silver. After medical supplies and compensation for her shoulder, I possessed 15 gold and 32 silver. 53 recovered patients signed the same public statement. It named Maris and me as their healers and the regional refinery as the poison source. My public reputation rose from 620 to 4,800. The board placed me 7th among district healers. That was 6 places above Sovan. By evening, my right leg was purple and Maris's shoulder required stitches. We returned to the noodle shop. The owner filled the table with bowls. There were noodles in chicken broth, slices of roasted pork, green onions, soft eggs with golden centers, fried mushrooms, and dumplings that released hot ginger steam when bitten. Peller built a wall from empty bowls until his mother made him take it down. Severa wrapped my bruised leg with clean cloth. Maris used one hand to eat and the other to write notes about the inner world. Next time, Severa said, we make a safer plan. We had a safe plan, Maris replied. You were swallowed by a frog. That was the sampling stage. For a few minutes, the day felt small and warm. Rain ran down the windows. The kitchen smelled of broth and toasted sesame oil. No one screamed. Nothing had more than one head. Then the door opened. A woman in a white traveling cloak stepped inside. Her hair was pale gold, and a sun-shaped mark glowed on her forehead. Every customer knelt. She crossed the room without looking at them and stopped beside my chair. My name is Orina, she said. A curse has entered one of my students. I can see her soul, but I cannot reach it. She placed a black hand mirror on the table. Inside the glass, a young girl pounded silently from the other side. Behind her stood a monster wearing Severa's face. The first 1,000 children did not fall unconscious. They stood, turned toward the royal palace, and began walking. Temple guards tried to stop them. The children did not fight. Their shadows did. The march had begun with one mirror. Less than an hour earlier, Orina had placed her cursed student before 1,000 witnesses in the Temple of Dawn. External holy light only fed the thing behind the girl's reflection, so Maris and I entered the mirror and fought a spider wearing Severa's face. We broke 3 soul anchors without cutting away the student's memories. The cure raised my life reserve from 36 to 50, my strength from 22 to 31, and my mirror curse resistance to 25%. The temple paid 30 gold, 2 soul glass shards added 20 gold in resources, and my reputation reached 13,000. Daskin tried to call me support. The cured girl named Maris and me as her healers before the entire sanctuary, and Orina pinned a rank C badge over Daskin's objection. His prepared speech folded around his wrist like a surrender flag while the crowd laughed. Then black marks appeared on every child in the temple. Their shadows faced the wrong way. The count crossed 1,000 before we reached the door, and the second stage of the curse began walking toward the palace. Black hands rose from the floor and pushed adults aside. Benches broke. Golden lamps fell. One shadow lifted a guard by both ankles and shook him like a dusty blanket. Orina spread a wall of holy light across the temple doors. 32 children struck it at the same moment. The wall cracked. I touched the nearest child. His pulse carried a second rhythm. It matched the distant steps of every other victim. This was not 1,000 separate curses. It was one curse wearing 1,000 bodies. New cases appeared each time a public crystal lens showed the white root crest. The curse traveled through reflected light. "Cover every lens," I said. Daskin's officials objected from the sanctuary entrance. The crystal network was how they issued emergency orders. Closing it would blind the hall. "Leaving it open gives the curse more eyes," Maris said. Orina tore her white cloak into strips and threw them to the temple guards. "Blind the lenses." The largest lens went dark. The case count slowed at 1,840. Daskin pushed through the crowd. He had replaced his blue robe with silver emergency armor. Behind him, hall healers carried boxes of sealing nails. "All marked patients will be confined," he announced. "Anyone resisting quarantine will be restrained." The families outside heard every word before the last lens was covered. The sealing nails contained sleep magic. Enough of them could hold the victims until their bodies failed. It was a practical response if he believed no cure existed. He looked at me. "Your method treats one body. We have nearly 2,000. "One cause," I said. "You cannot prove that." I took the black hand mirror from the altar. The trapped reflection had vanished, but one white root remained behind the glass. When I held it toward the children, every mark pulsed. 1,000 witnesses on the steps saw 32 black marks flash together. Orina understood first. "A shared soul road." He lifted a sealing nail. "Honesty does not make a plan safe. Neither does armor." The crowd laughed at the silver plates covering him from neck to boots. He looked like a cooking pot that had received a government position. Daskin gave me 15 minutes. If the marks remained after that, he would seal every patient. He said it loudly enough for the temple steps to hear. He wanted the failure attached to my name. I accepted loudly enough for the same reason. The patient I chose was the girl we had cured. Her soul already knew my path. She sat calmly while her wrong-facing shadow pulled at the floor beneath her. My life reserve was 50. Entering a networked curse would cost 18. Bringing Maris would cost 7. Orina could maintain our return path for 15 minutes but still could not cross it. Estimated central boss strength was above 60. My strength was 31. Severa knelt beside the student. Her face had lost its color. The royal crest on every wrist belonged to her bloodline, but no one in the sanctuary knew that yet. "The road may lead through you," I told her quietly. "Then use it. You could be hurt. 1,840 children are already hurt." She took the student's free hand. The inner healer sense reacted. Severa could not enter as a companion because she was linked to the cause, not to me. But she could act as a living compass. I held Maris's glove, touched the black mark, and entered. We arrived in a city built from school corridors. Doors covered every wall. Each carried a child's name and heartbeat. 1,840 red threads ran above us toward a white bell tower. The streets were filled with shadows walking toward it. No children were visible. Their bodies remained outside. Only the pieces stolen by the curse marched here. We climbed onto a low roof as the shadows filled the street. My scalpel could cut disease, but each creature carried a child's fear. Killing one might cut away part of that child. The red threads were safer targets. I touched one with the flat of the blade. The system identified it as a transmission route, not a life anchor. Severing it would isolate one patient but leave the curse inside that child. We needed the bell. Severa's heartbeat pulsed through the tower. A blue light appeared far above us, guiding the way. Maris poured silver powder across the roof tiles. The nearest shadows slipped as if the roof had become ice. One knocked down 6 others. Another bit a chimney and seemed disappointed. We ran across connecting roofs. Inside each room, a white tree grew from a desk. Its roots drank color from a sleeping child-shaped light. The relay was feeding on attention and fear, sending both toward Severa's hidden parasite. I cut one surface root. Outside, the corresponding child stopped walking but collapsed. His mark remained. Daskin's distant voice reached me through the shared pulse. "One patient has fallen. 14 minutes. He announced the setback to the crowd. Severa answered before Orina could. One stopped moving toward the palace. "The method is working." The crowd repeated her words. Inside, the cut root grew back. Maris examined the sap. The trees share one seed. We cut the seed, all roots die. We burn the trees, the children burn with them. The obvious solution was wrong again. We reached the base of the bell tower. Its door had no handle. A silver crown was carved into the stone. Severa's blue pulse touched it. The door opened. Inside stood a staircase made of mirrors. Each step reflected a different child. Shadow soldiers poured down from above, wearing white masks and carrying rulers like swords. The first struck my shoulder. The ruler cut through coat and skin. I did not attack its body. I cut the red thread tied around its wrist. The mask fell. The shadow became a small piece of fear and flew through a nearby door toward its owner. My curse resistance rose from 25 to 26%. Maris copied me with a copper shear. We climbed while cutting threads. 30 shadows became harmless. Then 50. My strength rose from 31 to 33. The third bell rang. All 1,840 white trees released their fruit. Small black mouths appeared above the streets. Each began repeating the worst thing its child had ever heard. Useless, unwanted, weak, dirty, alone. The words became black rain. My resistance blocked a quarter of their weight. Maris had no resistance. She fell to one knee. I covered her with my coat. It did nothing against sound, but simple actions mattered inside a soul. The student whose body we had entered heard us through the city. "Those are not our voices," she said. One door opened below, then another. Children's lights stepped from the classrooms. They faced the black mouths and repeated her words. "Those are not our voices." The rain weakened. The crowd outside heard the sentence leave the lips of every marked child. Parents began saying it with them. 1,000 witnesses became several thousand as families filled the temple square. The shared answer entered the inner city like warm wind. The white trees bent away from it. We reached the top chamber with 9 minutes remaining. The bell filled the room. It was made from white bone. A black root served as its rope. Beneath it sat the seed, a tiny mirror containing Azrath's open eye. The relay guardian descended from inside the bell. It wore a long white coat, a crown of school keys, and a smooth face with no eyes. Hundreds of child-sized hands formed its wings. Its strength was 64. Maris searched the chamber. "The seed is inside the mirror. Breaking the mirror may scatter it through every reflection." Then we moved the seed first. The guardian clapped its wings. A wall of hands hit us. I crossed both arms and was thrown through 3 mirror steps. My life reserve dropped from 25 to 19. Mirrored bruises would cover my real chest. The guardian rang the bell. Outside, every marked child stopped breathing. The temple square fell silent. Daskin raised the first ceiling nail. 7 minutes, Orina warned through the connection. I stood. The guardian expected me to attack it. Instead, I cut the black root used as the bell rope. The bone bell tipped sideways. Its next ring missed the hanging striker. 1,840 children inhaled at once. The sound outside was like a wave breaking. Inside, the guardian lost the hands on its left wing. Its strength fell from 64 to 52. Maris climbed the tilted bell. She placed 4 bottles around the tiny mirror and connected them with copper thread. "I can pull the seed into a clean vessel," she said. "I need 10 seconds without the guardian touching the mirror." "Take 12. I ran toward the faceless creature. It drove 6 hands into my body and lifted me. Another 10 reached for my head. I cut the wrist threads one by one. Each released a child's fear. Each reduced its strength. 52 became 48. 48 became 43. The guardian slammed me against the bell. My life reserve fell to 11. Maris began the transfer. The seed stretched like black smoke between the mirror and her central bottle. Azrath's eye turned toward her. "Little collector," it whispered. "Would you like to know what is growing inside you?" Her hands paused. The guardian broke away from me. I cut the last thread on its right wing and wrapped it around my wrist. When the creature charged Maris, I jumped from the bell. The thread pulled us together. I collided with its back. We rolled across the chamber. It had 4 times my weight and the balance of a refrigerator with anger problems. I locked the black bell rope around its neck. The fallen bell rolled. The rope tightened. The guardian was dragged beneath the bone rim and crushed against the floor. Its strength fell to 32, then 20. "Now, Maris." She finished the transfer. The black seed entered the bottle. She sealed it with the white root fragment. Every red thread in the city turned gold. The guardian came apart into hundreds of clean shadows. They flew through the doors and returned to the children. I cut the empty mirror in half. The white trees vanished. The system confirmed eradication of the broadcast curse from 1,840 patients. My life reserve increased from 50 to 68. My strength rose from 31 to 42. Mirror curse resistance increased from 25 to 40%. The sealed relay seed was valued above 100 gold, though selling it was strongly discouraged. We returned to the temple with 3 minutes left. Every black mark faded at the same time. The wrong-facing shadows turned and matched their owners. Across the city, 1,840 children woke, cried, shouted, or asked for food. The public boards received confirmations faster than they could display them. The temple square exploded with sound. Parents lifted children overhead. Guards struck their spear shafts against the stones. Even healers from Daskin's hall joined the cheering when they thought he was not looking. Maris placed the sealed black seed on the altar. Soul glass around it replayed the relay chamber for the crowd. They saw the bell, they saw the guardian, they saw Daskin lift a ceiling nail while the children had stopped breathing. He lowered it too late. Orina faced him before the crystal network reopened. You planned permanent confinement without a diagnosis. I planned to prevent spread. Elian prevented spread. You planned a locked room. The sentence crossed the square. Daskin's reputation score fell from 9,000 to 2,000 in less than a minute. The regional council suspended his emergency authority. His silver armor was removed piece by his own clerks while the crowd watched. By the time they reached his boots, the cooking pot comparison had become the most repeated message in the city. The council awarded me rank B. The temple paid 40 gold. The city paid another 80 for the mass cure. Families placed flowers, bread, coins, and handmade charms outside the noodle shop until the street disappeared beneath them. I now had 165 gold and 32 silver, not counting the sealed seed. My public reputation rose from 13,000 to 48,000. Messages from other regions began arriving before sunset. My body felt less successful. Purple handprints covered my chest and back. 2 ribs were cracked. Orina wrapped them while Maris guarded the seed. The temple courtyard became a feast for the recovered children. Long tables held roasted lamb, rice with herbs, bowls of yogurt and cucumber, warm flatbread, red tomatoes, salted cheese, and trays of honey pastries. Smoke from the cooking fires mixed with the smell of mint tea. Children who had marched like empty dolls that morning fought over the crisp edges of the lamb by evening. Severa sat beside me on a low wall. She broke a honey pastry in half and gave me the larger piece. Her smile faded when royal horns sounded beyond the gate. Black-armored riders entered the courtyard. Every soldier carried the silver crown from the curse crest. Their commander knelt in front of Severa. The entire feast became silent. "Your Highness," he said, "the palace has searched for you since dawn." Severa closed her eyes. Orina looked at the crest fragment. Maris looked at Severa. Peller dropped a honey pastry onto his boot. I had already seen the kingdom inside her, but hearing the title made the danger real in a different way. Severa stood. "My full name is Severa Allen. I am first princess of the crown bloodline." The courtyard knelt. I remained seated because my ribs objected to politics. She turned toward me. "I entered the academy to find the source of an illness that has killed members of my family for generations. I believed the curse was mine alone." The sealed relay seed cracked inside Maris's case. Every royal soldier grabbed his chest. Severa's blue ribbon turned white. Blood ran from her nose. The black sun appeared beneath the skin above her heart, visible even through her dress. My class sense opened. 9 sealed regions inside her failed at once. The princess fell into my arms. The system gave her 6 minutes to live. The temple called the 200 deaths a necessary separation. Voriel called them the first step toward saving 12,000. Only 10 hours earlier, Severa had revealed her royal name and collapsed in my arms. Her heart stopped 3 times before we reached the palace. Voriel, the S-rank head of the High Healing Council, poured golden light into the black sun in her chest and made it grow. With 6 minutes left, Maris and I entered the ruined kingdom inside Severa. We found a frozen heart pinned by 9 stakes and a crowned serpent attached to 1 red blood road. I stitched the infection away from the living road instead of killing it. Severa woke before thousands of witnesses. My life reserve rose from 68 to 82, my strength from 42 to 51, and my divine parasite resistance reached 5%. The treasury paid 300 gold, and the purified royal scale gave us the first map of 12,480 linked lives. At sunrise, Voriel chained me in the royal square and showed the capital a 200-year-old portrait that had changed to wear my face. Then, 3 linked patients collapsed during his accusation. Maris and I crossed their blood roads, detached 3 royal leeches, and cured all 3 while 20,000 people watched the scale. That raid raised my life reserve to 100, my strength to 65, and my divine resistance to 15%. 3 blood pearls worth 100 gold each became road shields. The treasury paid 500 gold, my reputation reached 160,000, and Severa raised me to provisional rank A. The infected portrait changed again and displayed Voriel's face. His public case collapsed, but his private plan did not. That night, he activated a purification station meant to save the kingdom by burning every soul on one branch. 200 linked hearts stopped before we could reach the switch. The families called them murder. By dawn, the capital square had filled again. 200 empty chairs stood before the High Healing Council. A name rested on each seat. No crystal lens needed to show the anger on the faces behind them. 8 purification stations remained inactive. Voriel controlled their master seal from the Temple of the Crown. He sent one demand: surrender the royal scale and the blood pearls, or he would activate the next station. Severa read the message aloud to the square. The crowd did not panic. They had watched too much in 4 days. They began counting the occupied chairs instead. 1, then 2, then 10, then 200. Voriel had chosen numbers. The families gave the numbers names. Orina removed the sun pin from her white cloak. The temple charter forbids sacrificing an unwilling soul. The oldest council judge looked away. The bloodline covenant permits emergency pruning. People are not branches. If the main parasite wakes, all 12,480 die. That was why Voriel still had supporters. He was not asking them to choose between good and evil. He was asking them to choose between 2,480 certain deaths and more than 12,000 possible deaths. His answer was cruel and easy to measure. Mine was harder. We had to stop the stations without shaking the 8 remaining seals. We also needed proof of what happened inside the first group. The dead could no longer serve as entry patients. One survivor remained. A temple guard named Halen had been standing between 2 blood roads when the station activated. Half his soul had burned. He lay beneath the square in a room covered with wet cloth. Golden fire still moved under his skin. Orina could see it. She could not reach it. "Take me inside," she said. The system recognized her request. My companion path had grown with my rank. I could guide one physical companion such as Maris, or one spiritual companion such as Orina. A saint's soul required no body transfer, but maintaining the door would cost 15 life points and 5 more for every minute she used full holy power. It remained the same broken rule. I entered. Someone willing could follow through my door. Maris handed Orina 4 bottles and looked unhappy about staying outside. "Do not drink the blue one," she said. "What does it do?" "It is lamp oil." "Why is it in your medical case?" "Sometimes we need a lamp." Halen had 6 minutes before the holy fire reached his heart. My life reserve was 100. Entry cost was 14. Orina's passage cost 15. The boss strength was estimated above 100. My strength was 65. We entered while the 200 families waited above us. The inner realm was a cathedral built from veins. Red pillars rose around a central altar. Half the roof burned with golden fire. The other half opened onto black space. Halen's soul knelt at the altar with one side of his body missing. Orina appeared beside me in armor made of sunlight. She stared at her hands. "I have prayed for this door since childhood," she whispered. "Try not to break it." The holy fire shaped itself into soldiers. They wore Voriel's seal over blank faces. Each carried a long golden nail, like the ones Daskin had planned to use on the cursed children. The first soldier drove its nail into a red pillar. Outside, Halen's heart skipped. Orina raised her palm. Sunlight hit the soldier. It grew larger. She stopped immediately. "The station uses temple power," she said. "My purification feeds it." For the first time in her life, holy light was the wrong answer. Welcome to internal medicine. We fought without magic. Orina used her staff as a staff. She swept the first soldier's legs and pinned its burning arms. I cut the white command thread inside its golden chest. The soldier became a small, clean flame and entered Halen's missing side. His soul regrew 1 finger. My strength rose from 65 to 66. Holy burn resistance increased from 0 to 2%. Dozens more soldiers descended from the burning roof. Orina broke pews into barriers. I cut command threads as she held the soldiers down. Each clean flame returned a piece of Halen. Outside, the burn under his skin retreated from his neck to his shoulder. The square received each measurement through Maris. 5,000 witnesses heard the numbers improve while the council watched. The cathedral bell rang. The central boss stepped from behind the altar. It resembled a judge made from molten gold. 8 arms held 8 station keys. 200 small faces moved across its robe. Its strength was 112. Each face belonged to someone who had died in the first purification. Orina's light shook. "Those souls are trapped in the spell," she said. "Killing the judge would destroy the proof and the remaining pieces of them." We had to reverse the sentence. The boss struck with 4 keys. I blocked 1. Orina blocked 2. The 4th entered the altar. Golden fire crossed another red pillar. Halen lost the arm we had restored. One of the remaining keys turned toward a side doorway and fired a golden line through it. Outside, Station 2 activated for 3 breaths. 360 linked patients collapsed in the southern district. Their lights dimmed on the royal scale while the capital square watched. Maris forced the recovered second key against the symbol, but Voriel's master order pushed it back. "The command is coming through the boss," she shouted through our connection. "Remove the key from its hand." The molten judge heard her. It folded the active key into its chest and covered it with 4 arms. The golden line grew brighter. Inside the cathedral, another section of roof caught fire. Outside, the pulse count among the 360 patients fell from 60 to 40, then 35. Orina rushed the boss without using holy light. 2 keys struck her armor. A third caught her staff and threw it across the nave. I slid under the lowest arm, but molten gold closed around my wrist. The molten grip burned through my glove. Halen's half-restored soul stood from the altar. He seized the judge from behind with his remaining arm. The action gave me one opening. I changed the scalpel into a hook, pulled the active key from the golden chest, and threw it through the doorway. Maris caught its real-world reflection against the royal scale. Station 2 went dark. The 360 pulses rose together. 35 became 40, then 52, then 60. The square counted every increase allowed. The judge's strength fell from 112 to 106. 1 key was gone, but 7 remained, and Voriel now knew we could reach them. My life reserve fell from 71 to 64 as a key cut through my leg. Orina's full power could overpower the judge, but each minute would cost me 5 life points and make the holy station stronger. Raw force remained a bad bargain. "The faces," I said. "Can they hear you?" She lowered her staff. The judge raised all 8 keys. Orina spoke the names written on the empty chairs above us. She had memorized all 200. One face on the golden robe opened its eyes, then another. Each name weakened the fire holding that soul fragment. The judge's strength fell from 112 to 108, then 103. The keys came down. I cut the command thread in the first key. Orina caught the second with both hands. 6 struck the cathedral floor. The realm split. We fell into a memory beneath the altar. Voriel stood there as a child. The previous inner healer held the first infected princess beside a black lake. 9,000 red roads entered a parasite in the water. Capital healers shouted for him to wait. The man attacked. 1 slash cut the parasite and every road tied to it. 9,000 lights went dark. Child Voriel screamed beside his dead mother. The memory changed. Adult Voriel built the first purification station. He tested it on 1 infected prisoner. It separated the parasite but burned the patient's soul. He wrote the result as a partial success. Then he built 8 more. Orina watched without speaking. The memory was proof, but it was also pain. Voriel had spent his life making sure the old disaster could not happen again. Somewhere along the way, preventing one kind of massacre had taught him to accept another. The golden judge entered the memory. Its 8 keys struck toward us. I used the broken scene as cover. A memory could not be wounded. Keys passed through images of the dead while Orina continued naming them. The 200 faces left the judge's robe one by one. They gathered around Halen's half-burned soul. The boss strength dropped below 90. Orina could now use controlled light without feeding it. She shaped her power into a thin golden line. Not a blast, not a purification wave, a surgeon's thread. "Show me where," she said. My silver scalpel revealed the white command network inside the judge. 8 lines ran from its keys to Voriel's master seal. Red lines tied the stolen soul fragments to Halen. I cut the white lines. Orina stitched every red line back into Halen's soul. The judge fought like a machine losing instructions. 1 arm struck left. 3 struck each other. A 5th attempted to arrest a pillar. We removed the keys one by one. The first key showed the location of Station 2. The second showed Station 3. By the 8th, the complete network floated above the altar. The judge's molten body collapsed into an empty robe. We had not killed the trapped fragments. We had returned them. The 200 dead could not regain bodies, but their final memories remained inside the 8 keys. Their names, their fear, and the instant the station burned them were preserved as soul glass testimony. The system confirmed removal of holy burn from Halen. My life reserve increased from 100 to 120. My strength rose from 65 to 82. Holy burn resistance became 25%. 8 station keys were recovered, each capable of disabling one outer ritual without damaging its blood road. Orina placed her hand against the inner door. I could never enter alone, she said, but I can carry witnesses out. The 200 soul memories followed her light. We returned. Halen opened his eyes. His burned side had regrown in soul and flesh. He sat up with a steady pulse. Orina emerged through my doorway holding 8 golden keys. For the first time in recorded temple history, a saint had entered another person's soul and returned with physical evidence. The capital square went silent before it roared. Orina placed the keys on the High Council table. Each projected the name and final memory of the people killed by Station 1. The empty chairs were no longer symbols. Their owners spoke from golden light. Voriel appeared through a temple lens from the crown sanctuary. He looked older than he had the night before. The sacrifice was necessary, he said. The memory of his first test played behind him. 1 prisoner burning. 1 report calling it partial success. The crowd's reaction did not come as laughter. It came as 200 families standing at once. Orina faced the council. He concealed fatal trials, activated a station without consent, and threatened 7 more groups. I invoke removal under the temple charter. The judges voted in public. One by one, their white stones turned black. Voriel lost his title by 11 votes to 2. His S-rank badge disappeared from the capital board. My verified cure of Halen and recovery of the station network raised me from provisional A to full A rank. My reputation rose from 160,000 to 280,000. The result crossed the kingdom before the council left its seats. Regional healers who had copied Voriel's sacrifice order removed it from their walls in public. Families replaced those notices with Halen's stable pulse count. The royal treasury awarded 800 gold for preventing the remaining stations. The city granted me a permanent clinic charter. The 8 keys were more valuable than money because each protected hundreds of blood roads. Maris disabled stations 2 through 8 from the council table. Every dim light on the royal scale brightened. The square counted them, 2,280 survivors. That number publicly defeated Voriel more completely than any insult. At sunset, the families of the survivors filled the future clinic rooms above the noodle shop with food. There were roasted birds glazed with honey, bowls of spiced beans, cheese pies, baked apples, dark bread, and enough soup to treat hunger as a regional emergency. Halen ate with his family. Orina sat without her saint's pin and looked happier than she had while wearing it. Maris labeled every leftover jar. Peller changed 3 labels as a joke and spent the next hour changing them back under her supervision. Severa and I stood by the window facing the brick wall. Your clinic has a terrible view, she said. The wall is reliable. Most walls do not charge 6 silver a week. This one has confidence. She leaned her head against my uninjured shoulder. I did not move. She was still my patient. That line mattered, even when neither of us liked it. The royal scale lay on the table behind us. One of the 8 recovered keys turned by itself, then another. All 8 station symbols reappeared, connected not to the council but directly to the black sun. Voriel's voice came through the scale. You left me 1 path. The 9th station had never been outside Severa. It was hidden inside Azrath's core. Voriel activated it. Every one of the 12,480 red roads caught fire. 12,461 hearts stopped on the same beat. Mine kept moving because panic was a poor treatment plan. 9 minutes earlier, white fire entered every blood road. 19 died before Maris locked 8 keys into the scale. 12,461 remained, and Voriel was inside Severa as a living execution order. Orina entered through my diagnosis. Maris guided us outside. 3 blood pearls reversed the hooks and restarted 549 hearts. Every pulse crossed the crystal network. I broke Voriel's station form, but Azrath dragged him into the core. The divine wave raised my life reserve to 145, strength to 105, and resistance to 25%. 1,000 gold and guardian status pushed my reputation past 500,000. Then Azrath stopped every surviving pulse. The system gave us 8 seconds before permanent death began. Inside Severa, 8 seconds stretched into 80 heartbeats. The white giant's hand descended toward the thawed heart region. Every red road pulled tight behind it. I had no blood pearls left. Orina's armor was cracked. Voriel hung unconscious inside Azrath's fist. Severa still held the dented soup pot. Maris remained outside with the royal scale and 8 station keys. "Close the roads," I shouted through the return connection. "Not cut. Close them for 1 heartbeat." She understood before I finished. The station keys could place shields around groups of roads. They could not act on thousands of individual connections unless the linked patients resisted from their own side. Their hearts had stopped. Their souls had not left yet. Orina raised the projection key. "They can hear us." Azrath laughed through 12,000 silent mouths. "Dead branches do not choose." Severa struck its descending finger with the soup pot. The blow did no damage. It made a clear ringing sound. 1 linked soul answered. A small red light appeared on a road above us. Then another. The recovered families had seen us return pieces of Halen's soul. The 3 royals had felt us walk their roads. The children from the broadcast curse remembered saying that the false voices were not theirs. They knew how to answer from inside. Orina spoke into the network. "Your blood belongs to you. Your oath belongs to you. Close your door when I count 1. Maris placed the first station key against the royal scale. The capital lenses carried no reflection, only sound. Across the kingdom, families held the hands of the fallen and repeated Orina's instruction. The public reaction became part of the treatment. Azrath closed its fist around Voriel. I jumped onto its wrist and drove the silver scalpel between 2 crown plates. White blood poured out. My divine resistance blocked 1/4 of its burning force. The rest turned my arms black with mirrored injury. My life reserve fell from 145 to 128. Severa climbed beside me using the giant's roots as ropes. Orina followed in a line of sunlight. The giant shook its arm. We flew over the ruined city. Severa hooked the soup pot around a crown root. Orina caught her ankle. I caught Orina's staff. For 1 breath, the acting guardian of life, the first princess, and the highest saint hung from kitchen equipment above a divine abyss. "Your mother bought a good pot," I said. Severa laughed despite everything. The linked lights multiplied. 1,000, then 3,000, then 7,000. Every number was repeated outside by the royal clerks. Citizens filled squares in every region. The same people who had once laughed at an F-rank healer now counted souls answering his plan. Azrath heard them. It opened mouths across its entire body and sent fear down the red roads. People saw the deaths of their families, the fall of the palace, their own bodies becoming white trees. Some lights went dark. The count fell from 7,000 to 6,400. We needed all living roads closed at once. 1 open road would give the parasite an escape. "Show them the truth," I told Orina. She turned the projection key toward the giant. The inner battle appeared through the 8 station keys. For the first time, the witnesses outside did not only hear a description, they saw the ruined kingdom, the red roads, and the parasite wearing stolen faces. They saw us hanging from the pot. Peller's voice entered the network from the clinic. "He has had worse plans." The absurd sentence broke the fear. Lights returned. 8,000, 10,000, 12,000. 19 roads remained dark because their patients had already died. We did not need to close those. The living count stopped at 12,461. Every surviving soul was present. Maris prepared the keys. Azrath slammed its hand against the city. The impact threw us from its wrist. Orina caught Severa in a sun net. I fell through the roof of the heart castle and landed beside the repaired stake. The clear serpent guarding the road to Severa's father woke. It did not attack me. It lowered its head. The blood road was not only a danger, it was part of the patient's defense once freed from infection. I climbed onto the serpent. It carried me up the giant's leg, across its back, and toward the place where all roads entered the white spine. Azrath sent larvae after us. Hundreds crawled from its crowns. Each carried 1 linked face. Killing them while attached would kill patients. I changed the silver tool into a clamp and closed each mouth as we passed. Orina's sun net swept behind us, tying the restrained larvae together without burning them. Severa used the dented pot to knock 3 from the serpent's tail. The scene was not graceful. It worked. Voriel regained consciousness inside the giant's fist. His broken blade still protruded from the core. White roots grew through his arms. "I opened it," he said through the projection. "Then help close the roads," Severa answered. He looked at the 12,000 lights. He had believed people would never coordinate in time. The entire kingdom was proving him wrong in public. Warrior pressed both hands against the root around him. His remaining station power flowed away from the cutting blade and into the 8 keys outside. The keys turned gold. Maris shouted, "Ready." Arena began the count. 3. Azrath sensed the danger. It pulled every red road deeper into its spine. I reached the joining point. It was protected by 12,000 white hooks. My scalpel could not cut them in one strike. I did not need to. When the roads closed, the hooks would become parasite tissue separated from living souls. 2. The giant tore the clear serpent in half. I jumped from its head and landed among the hooks. White jaws closed around my legs and back. My life reserve dropped to 96. Mirrored wounds opened across my real body. In the clinic, Peller and Maris saw white cuts appear from my neck to my feet. Ordinary healing could not close them. I remained conscious. 1. 12,461 linked souls closed their roads. For one heartbeat, the red network vanished. The giant lost its wings. Every white hook became visible as separate disease. The system changed my tool into its final form. It was still the same class instrument, still used for the same action. The small scalpel extended into a silver line that passed through every exposed hook. One cut severed them all. Azrath's strength fell from above 1,000 to 300. The 12,000 restrained larvae became empty shells. Arena burned them with clean light. None carried a face now. Maris locked all 8 station keys around the severed road bundle. The keys formed a cage. The parasite could not reconnect. Every heart outside beat once. The sound entered the inner kingdom as thunder. The red roads reopened on the patient's side, clean and free. They no longer ended in Azrath. They ended in their own hearts. The parasite screamed. The public projection showed its stolen crowns falling. One by one, the faces across its body returned to the people who owned them. Azrath shrank from a giant to a winged creature the size of the palace tower. Still large, still angry, much less divine. Its strength was 300. Mine was 105. The final boss remained stronger. That was fair. We had only removed the hostages. Azrath rushed toward Severa's heart. Warrior drove the broken station blade through its left wing. Arena pinned the right with her sun net. Maris could not enter, but she rotated the station keys outside. Their cage tightened around the parasite's roots. Severa stood in front of her heart castle. She lifted the soup pot. "I am tired of monsters using my mother's face," she said. Azrath changed. It became her mother. The older woman held out both arms. The kitchen memory appeared around them. Soup steamed on the blue stove. Rain touched the window. Severa stopped. The parasite smiled. "Come home." I did not tell Severa it was false. She knew. Knowledge did not remove pain. I walked beside her. "Your mother gave you a memory," I said. "This thing only repeats it." Severa looked at the pot in her hands. The dent from the giant's crown crossed its bottom. "My mother's pot was not dented," she said. She struck the false memory across the face. The kitchen shattered. Azrath returned to its wounded form. Its strength fell from 300 to 240 as Severa rejected the stolen identity. We attacked together. Warrior held the left wing. Arena burned the right. Severa used her blue ribbon to bind the crown roots. I climbed the center of its back toward the black core. Azrath grew blades from every scale. One passed through my shoulder. Another opened my side. A third cut the silver line from my hand. My life reserve fell from 96 to 58. The class tool landed below. Azrath twisted and threw me toward the black sun shell. I struck it hard enough to break the surface. Inside the shell, I saw the true parasite. It was not a giant or a god. It was a small white worm curled around a child's stolen heartbeat. All the crowns, faces, and ruined cities were armor built from fear. The worm noticed me. It abandoned the battle body and jumped toward my chest. That was its final plan. Move into the healer. Gain a body with access to every future patient. I let it enter my mirrored wound. The system warned that self-entry remained impossible. If the parasite reached my heart, no inner healer could follow it. I was the only inner healer alive. The price became clear. I used my divine resistance as a cage. 25% slowed the worm. Night venom resistance became another wall. Wound infection resistance, riverbane resistance, mirror curse resistance, and holy burn resistance folded around it. Every resistance I had earned began to burn away. The worm stopped 1 finger width from my heart. My strength remained 105, but every disease defense fell toward 0. I traded future safety for the present cure. "Now," I told Severa. She understood through the patient bond. Her blue ribbon crossed the broken shell and wrapped around my wrist. Arena sent clean light along it. Voriel turned the broken station blade away from the roads and into the worm's exposed tail. Maris closed the key cage from outside. The parasite was trapped between my resistance, Severa's will, Arena's light, Voriel's blade, and Maris's seal. I retrieved the silver tool through the patient bond. It returned to my hand as a scalpel, small again, simple again. I cut the worm from my chest. Then I cut it in half. Azrath died without a road, a host, or a stolen face. The white giant collapsed into snow. The black sun became a real sunrise. Warm light crossed the ruined kingdom. Broken towers rebuilt only far enough to become quiet ruins instead of open wounds. The 9 seal gates dissolved. Severa's heart castle began beating without stakes. The system confirmed complete eradication of the divine parasite from Severa and all linked patients. My life reserve increased from 145 to 200. My strength rose from 105 to 150. Divine parasite resistance reached 100%, but every lesser resistance used in the final cage reset to 0. The victory cured 12,461 living patients. The 19 who had died before entry did not return. Their lights remained above the inner city as stars. No healing result erased every cost. We returned to the real world. Severa's black sun was gone. Royal healers found no parasite, no white roots, and no blood compulsion in any tested patient. Reports arrived from every region. 12,461 hearts were stable. Old inherited illnesses vanished with the parasite's roads. The projection had shown the entire final raid. The world reacted before I could stand. The capital bells rang. Then the temple bells. Then every district bell connected to the crystal network. Crowds filled the streets from the palace to the outer wall. The public board could not display my reputation because the number passed its regional limit. The council recorded the cure as the first divine rank eradication in known history. My official rank became S. The title Guardian of Life became permanent. The royal treasury paid 3,000 gold, granted the clinic building, and funded free treatment for patients unable to pay. Voriel returned alive, but without rank or office. He stood before the same 200 empty chairs and admitted what he had done. The witnesses did not cheer his humiliation. They watched him begin the work of answering every family. That was a harsher sentence than hiding behind a title. Severa remained in the palace for 30 days of observation. During that time, I did not treat her because there was nothing left to treat. On the 31st day, she entered my finished clinic through the front door. The old noodle shop remained below. I had purchased the brick wall across from my window after learning that wealthy people solved strange problems by owning them. Maris ran the laboratory on the second floor. Her shelves held labeled samples from every inner raid. Arena used the third floor to train temple healers to support patients without forcing power into them. Peller wore an apprentice badge and a normal-sized hat. The dining table held beef stew with onions and carrots, warm bread with melted butter, roasted chicken, tomato soup, cheese pies, and apple cakes dusted with cinnamon. We had chosen one dish from every quiet meal that had followed a battle. Severa wore her blue ribbon again. She sat beside me and placed the larger apple cake on my plate. "I am no longer your patient," she said. "The tests agree." "Then you may stop pretending you do not understand what the larger piece means." Maris suddenly found her soup fascinating. Arena smiled into her tea. Pelor looked between us with the excitement of someone watching a public trial. I divided the cake and gave half back to Severa. "Dinner first," I said. "And after dinner? We plan something that does not involve entering your heart." Her smile was warmer than the kitchen. For one peaceful hour, no bells rang. No one collapsed. No monster wore a crown. We ate until the bowls were empty and the bread basket held only crumbs. Then, the clinic wall exploded inward. The reliable brick wall crossed the room in pieces. A blue dragon pushed its head through the hole. It wore a gold collar and looked embarrassed. "Guardian," it said, "do you accept royal insurance?" The system detected a new patient. Inside the dragon's heart, an entire world was running out of air.